It's obviously your bedtime, so thanks for coming out and spending the day with us. You'll note that their festival actually closes at 8, whereas the vegan festival goes all night. And if you've seen Game Changers recently, you'll know that that's true in more ways than one. Yes, a plant-based diet can lead to better erections, which is really helpful for all the dates that you aren't invited on because of your plant-based diet. Now, as the sun goes down, obviously we know as vegans we get the majority of our nutrition from photosynthesis. So if everyone can take this shot to have our last meal of the day just before the sun goes down and the rest of the festival continues. I went vegetarian when I was about 12 years old because I saw a PETA video called Meet Your Meat. And I had a really dramatic moment where as soon as I watched the video, I ran to my freezer and I took out a slab of mince and I exclaimed, "Never again." And from there, I started my activism journey, which I will admit was quite weak when we first started. And I thought I would share with you today an excerpt from my first attempt at activism. Now, this is when I was a vegetarian, so I would go out and tell people about all the bad things they were doing to cows, and then I would reward myself with 3 cheese pizzas. So I don't know if it was that effective at the time, but this is great writing, and I thought I'd share with you the blog that I wrote from the point of view of an angry cow that was slowly discovering the reality of the meat industry and was trying to convey some activism through puns. So please enjoy the writings of 16-year-old Zach attempting to enact change. Hey guys, Daisy here. So the other day, I'm being milked, right? And I'm wondering where Betsy is. Mr. Moose turns to tell me that she's been sent to the abattoir. Avatar, I said. I haven't seen that movie yet. Don't ruin it for me. Can you guess what year I wrote this in? We are still waiting for a sequel. It was then explained to me that an abattoir is where they send good, honest cows like me to be slaughtered and served up with a side of chips. What? I exclaimed. I was shocked. I always thought I had a nice rump, but not at $23.99 a kilo. I don't have mad cow disease. I'm just a mad cow. So obviously when my friends read that, the entire community stopped eating meat, and that was the end of my activist journey. No, it wasn't that effective as it turns out, but now that I lead a vegan diet, it's a lot more consistent with my morals, and I'm a lot happier talking about it because I actually know what I'm talking about now. As I stand here behind this lectern, it kind of feels like I'm about to give a roast, and that's because I am. I find it very ironic that meat eaters who are so proud of their ability to roast meat with their tired-ass jokes don't seem to know how to roast anyone else. So I am inviting you to the very first roast of meat, where I attempt to take down the meat industry through the crappy jokes that I've written. So please welcome the roast of meat. When people ask you where you get your protein from, I find the best response is to gently explain the concept of a supermarket. Just say, down from Foodland, mate. I wish animals were made of plastic because then maybe people would stop using them. Speaking of plastic, I actually recommend using plastic utensils when frying faux seafood because the traces of plastic that end up in your meal actually lend a really authentic ocean flavor. I can't wait for the first undercover footage of plant-based meat factory farms gets released because it's just going to be me chopping vegetables, and I love the extra screen time. When Heston Blumenthal makes meat look like fruit, omnivores around the planet hurt their hands from applauding too much. But when vegans turn fruit into meat, we've gone too far. Oh, we're flying in the face of God. I'd like to talk about bees for a second. The bee has been declared the most important being on the planet by the Earthwatch Institute, which I find quite rude because apparently I didn't make the list. There's a couple of double standards between me's and bees. For example, when a bee consumes sugar all day and throws up, people pay top dollar for their honey. But when I do it, I'm cut off from ordering more pina coladas. If anyone around here does eat honey, come see me after the show because my cat threw up earlier. So I've got a new expanded range of animal vomit for you to come and check out. I find it very interesting that people who eat honey to support the bees refuse to replace honey with a simple sugar syrup, despite the fact that they think it's good enough for the bees that they've stolen honey from. And the same thing goes for baby calves. If you're someone who simply cannot live without milk, surely you can relate to the plight of calves who can't live without milk either. A fun fact, the E in dairy actually stands for ethical. If someone ever asks you for a glass of normal milk, I find the best response is to simply say, sure, I'll grab that for you. What's your mum's address? Is she still pumping? There are so many alternatives to milk, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. And the reality is, if drinking soy caused men to grow breasts, then I would look a lot better in a crop top at this point. And I don't. I've tried it. The best part about making homemade nut milk is at no point does the process involve artificial insemination, which saves a lot of time. So there's so many benefits to plant-based milk and cheese and honey. We've got so many impressive alternatives at the moment. Old school vegans, when they see all the ways that we're replacing eggs, are like, weird flax, but okay. Aquafaba, which we should all know about at this point, is the liquid in a can of chickpeas that can replace an egg in almost any instance. And my favorite way to replace it is when you're egging someone, just use aquafaba left in the can and peg that at them instead. It's way more effective. Vegan food has gotten so good these days, we've gone from, I can't believe it's not butter, to stop calling it butter, you're confusing people and we'll sue you. Which is a great improvement in my opinion. People who say they hate vegan food are just saying that they're shit at cooking vegetables. But veganism really has grown so much at this point that you can walk into a cafe in a small town and ask for something vegan and be sure that you're getting something that's 100% gluten-free. I think veganism as a diet, which it's not, it's a plant-based diet, veganism is a lifestyle. I think we get a lot of hate, but I think there are a lot of diets out there that are much more deserving of hate. So I thought I'd go in on them for a quick second. For example, if you quit sugar, what are you going to do if you're stuck on a deserted island with nothing but an apple tree? It doesn't make sense to me. If you're paleo and you like to emulate the diet of your ancestors, why not go even further back and emulate your Precambrian ancestors and just eat that yummy pelagic sediment found on the seafloor? Now, keto, I did ask one of my friends doing keto what that diet's all about, and they started to let me know, but unfortunately they had a heart attack before they could finish their sentence. So I guess we'll never know what keto's really all about. But I'm not just going to go in on other diets. Veganism has a lot of things that we can go in on. For example, I know saving water is very important, but I don't think serving dry falafel in the supermarket is the right way to go about it. There's lots of other ways to save water. Please stop serving dry falafel. Vegan cheese, it's very easy to improve the taste of vegan cheese. My recommendation is to just have a small piece of vegan white chocolate first, because nothing can be worse than that. I also want to go in on turmeric lattes, which seem to be everywhere at this point. And let's be honest, a turmeric latte is simply a curry that people have forgotten to add the rest of the ingredients to. And honestly, I don't care if it makes me lose weight or clears my skin or fixes my car or cures my cancer. It is not suitable for human consumption. Veganism demographically is a very female-dominated movement, which is incredible. But I do think to myself, how can we make veganism more appealing to men? And I've come up with the answer. I can't find a single plant-based meat product that is specifically formulated for men, and none of them come in flavors like Arctic Crush or Sport. So I think we're missing a whole demographic here, and if we could change that up for our next line, I think it'll be much more inviting to men. I've worked in vegan food for many a year, and my biggest takeaway really is vegan food is just a really long game of Chinese whispers where the first person doesn't really remember what meat tastes like, and by the time it gets down the line, we've convinced ourselves that banana peels are indistinguishable from pork. I do work in vegan food. I work in Melbourne for a plant-based meat company, and I develop recipes for people to make at home. You can check out all of my recipes online. I have an ebook that I came out with this year called Meals for Mere Mortals, and I kind of want to explain why I've named my book Meals for Mere Mortals. In that book, the plant-based meats that I've designed are mythical meat, and a couple of years ago, I had a very successful recipe called CFC drumsticks, which is sort of like a mock KFC that comes with a bone made out of cauliflower and flesh out of jackfruit, and it was very controversial. Someone told me it was the blackface of veganism because it was pretending to be something that it's not. And that's really led me to a very important thing that I try and include in all of my recipes, and it's a message that eating meat is not a culture that can be appropriated. They don't own flavors, they don't own textures, and they don't own shape. Eating meat only owns death, and that's something that they can keep. But I think it's important that we show people that absolutely anything can be made vegan. So when people are angry at me for making food that's too realistic, my response is now to make food that's so unrealistic that you couldn't complain. So if you purchase a copy of my ebook, you'll find a unicorn steak, and you'll find a mermaid tail. Earlier in the food tent, I made an edible version of the face hugger from the Alien movies because no one can tell me that it's too realistic at all. And so that's why I've moved in that direction. I'm really excited to say that next year I've finally got a publishing deal. So my book will be coming out, be available worldwide. It's called Junk Food Vegan. So purchase my ebook in the interim, but that's something you should look out for and definitely purchase when that one's available. If you thought this was all right, you can find me on social media under my name, which is really weirdly spelt. So come up and ask me about it later. If you type my first name into the code section when buying my ebook, it'll give you $2 off, just as a reward for remembering how to spell it. So I'll be around the speakers tent after this to share that with you. So before I leave you, I thought I would share with you a gift that I haven't really shared with the world. So I often write vegan horoscopes on my Facebook page, and that's just me letting people know what's coming for them. It usually doesn't go well for them, but obviously I've got a gift. I can see into the future just as well as anyone else who claims they can, and I've got the accuracy of an 8-ball. So I would like to invite a volunteer up for a live reading. Would anyone like to find out what's coming up in their future? Oh, come on up. I'm going to give away that I know this person. This is Georgia, but we didn't plan this, so come on up. Hello. And so I'm sensing that your name is Georgia. I have a gift. Isn't that brilliant? I can already see your aura. It's absolutely beautiful.
Oh my God, thank you.
Would I be able to take your hand for a reading? Okay, it's very limp. I'm sensing that you're a vegan. I'm very protein deficient. I'm sensing that maybe you forgot to take your B12 tablets recently.
Yeah, the last 4 years.
The last 4 years? Well, do what I do. I just take a fistful of B12 every 6 months and pray for the best.
Nibble at the grass.
Just nibble at the grass, she said. This is not your comedy set, Georgia. I can see the charisma and wit emanating off you. I mean, you would be the life of the party if you were invited to any of them. You might sense that your friends are trying to distance themselves from you at the moment. They are, but I just wanted to confirm that for you. So I'm going to see if the spirits are going to give me some information. Okay, as Mercury goes into retrograde, that cafe near your work is going to finally have a vegan option. Oh, sorry, the spirits have just finished. It's just avo toast with the toppings taken off at full price. I'm so sorry. I thought that was going to be a good one. What else do the spirits have for me? I can see you're going to you're going to pay extra for a soy latte soon, and you're going to break into a fist fight with the barista when they pull out the really cheap, shitty soy. Yeah, so just maybe train up for that. I know that's coming at you in the future. I have a vision. I'm not reading my sheet. I'm just kind of letting the spirit speak to me, and they're very strong in this area. This is a good one. You're going to match with your soulmate on Tinder.
really?
Oh, what do you think about that?
Oh my god, I'm so ready. So if you're on Tinder, guys.
And sorry, the spirits have said you do match with your soulmate, but they unmatch you when they notice you say you're vegan in your profile. Oh, I'm sorry. Look, I don't think this is going very well for you. I'm going to have to ask you to hop down before it gets worse. Thank you to Georgia for popping up for a live reading. And, if you spot her around, be really nice to her because she doesn't have a lot of good things coming up, unfortunately. I'm going to finish this off by trying to channel those spirits, and I'm going to see if I can see way into the future for all of us. It's coming to me. I can see around 1:30 tomorrow, everyone's going to be attending my demo at the plant-powered tent with Andrew Spudfit Taylor. Okay, the spirits they're coming to me. They're also saying that everyone's going to be really grateful and send lovely messages to the organisers of the vegan festival and not air your grievances out. That's what the spirits are saying. I'm going to try and look further into the future. It's next year. It's the Southern Hemisphere's first ever vegan film festival, and we're all having a great time. I'm going to see if I can go way into the future, guys. I'm going to see if I can see what's coming up for all of us. There it is. Okay, way into the future. We're all living on the new 8th continent. It's the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, and it's the only one left because it floats. Avatar 2 has still not come out, and we're still waiting for that to come out, but we're all vegan. It's a beautiful future, and I think it's something that we should all continue to work towards. So if you are not yet vegan and you want my #1 tip on how to be the perfect vegan, try. Thank you very much for having me, Adelaide Vegan Festival. I'll be over near the speaker's tent, and I'll be on stage with Andrew Spudfit Taylor around 1:30 tomorrow. Stick around because we've got a party with Kate happening next. That is not to be confused with the karaoke afterwards, a party with Cade. So stick around. There's lots of things happening, and I can't wait to see you at tomorrow for all the activities we've got at the festival. Thank you very much.